Well, thanks so much for being here. I'm very excited. Your office is adorable.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. So, why don't you tell us what you do today?
So I'm the vice president of marketing for KeHE. We're a
Okay.
food distributor based in Naperville, Illinois.
Okay.
And we have 16 distribution centers around the US and Canada. And we distribute about 250,000 different products to 30,000 retailers
Okay.
around the US and Canada, Caribbean, and Mexico.
So, that was very corporate speak and very good explanation.
Thank you so much.
So, give me an example of what that means for
Yeah,
those people
so
not in the food distribution industry like myself.
you're a brand new kombucha, and
Okay.
KeHE's job is to find you and bring you into our independents as well as our chain grocers
Okay.
and meet the needs of today's consumer.
This is a great job. This is like my dream job. Now, do you get to taste food? Because I see you on LinkedIn and you're always going to food shows and
One of my favorite parts of the job is
yeah,
that we actually get to try the products.
yeah.
So we create really large industry trade shows where we are selling the product to our retail customers.
Okay.
And we bring our
Like
suppliers
big box
in.
stores.
Big box and
Okay.
even small independent mom
Okay.
and pops that have one store. And the job is to understand, what the end consumer wants. So we bring in the right suppliers.
Okay.
And at our shows, our job is to taste those foods, understand the trends, see what's really happening across the marketplace. And I think I could gain probably another 10 pounds each year. I'm here just
Oh my gosh.
going through those.
So I like the story because I work in innovation and creativity and product development. So say I am a new kombucha, which is obviously very trendy right now.
Mhm.
How do I even get that going, or what's the process? And is KeHE making the decision, or are you letting the consumers make the decision?
So a little bit of both. We
Okay.
try and triangulate data, understanding what the end consumer wants, as well as, what future trends are telling us are coming on. So like right now, plant-based is huge. And we're seeing plant-based actually even merge with sustainability.
Okay.
And to go a little bit deeper into that, people that want a plant-based food used to maybe just be vegetarian, vegan mindset, but now they're understanding that what kind of impact meats are having on the total
Yeah.
sustainability on Mother Earth with water and greenhouse gases and so on and so forth. So we're seeing that as like a mega trend
Yeah.
evolving. So we look at those trends and then we see these new innovative items and see if they align to those or if they're even premature to a new trend that's coming on.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So we really see
Because you could be too soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can be.
Yeah.
And getting into distribution is an expensive model, so it's not right for every supplier. Right at their onset.
Yeah.
They
Because
need
that
to
means you
have
need a lot of
lot of
quantity.
supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you just look at the macroeconomics of what it's like to be a new supplier, you have
Yeah.
to understand, what the demand will be instantly when you come into a distribution model.
Okay.
Innovation is the hub of our business. If you look at our trade shows as an example, as I started talking about a quarter of our trade show is strictly innovation.
Yeah.
New products, new trends, new categories. And we've developed two additional streams to bring in innovation into our shows. One is our Next Generation Innovation Showcase, and that allows for suppliers that are actually too immature to actually be part of distribution.
Okay.
But we want to see what the demand is from our retailer partners.
Oh,
So they'll
interesting.
actually vote
Yeah.
them into our supply chain at our show.
I like that.
And
Yeah.
the other is having our new product showcase. So we have over 300 products that will be on display for our retailers to see everything that's brand new to the market. Those can be line extensions. And for someone that's not in food, if you have 3 kombuchas already on the market and you add a 4th flavor,
Yeah.
that would be considered a line extension or a net new product, like something created out of a new flour, like a pea flour or a different type of, protein enhanced plant-based.
So I love that. I didn't even mean to get this much into food, but it's like fascinating. So what are some of the trends aside from plant-based?
Yeah, so plant-based sustainability is a huge one.
Yeah.
Keto.
I have not had the Impossible Whopper yet.
Yeah, it's worth a try.
I'm not brave enough. Is it taste good?
It doesn't taste bad.
Okay.
But
okay.
then just if you look around, all the other proteins that are coming onto the market that are plant-based really
Yeah.
align to high protein and, high sustainability.
Okay.
Speaking of high protein, keto
Keto?
is a huge
I'm sure, yeah.
trend still, and it's maintaining its strength.
I dabble in the keto.
How's that go?
I like it. I like the intermittent fasting.
To me, it's takes a lot of control, and I
Yeah.
think that's part of that like diet tribe mentality.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what do you align to? If you're able to align to it, then
Yeah.
you're good.
That's why I said dabble.
Yeah,
'Cause it's like
exactly.
one day on,
I
6
think
off.
that the way that social has evolved and allowing us to talk about diets in a totally different way
Yeah.
has really, taken keto to the next level that perhaps it might not have had 10, 15 years ago.
Mhm.
But because people are able to say that they're on keto, it's not like a shameful, I'm on a diet.
Yeah.
Then there's these tribes and you can connect to them, find out success metrics and ways of achieving, the complete diet.
Yeah. And
And
so you mentioned online. So you do any netnography where you're monitoring what people are saying in chat groups and things online?
probably not enough. That's
Okay.
an area
Yeah.
for our marketing organization to delve deeper.
And I'm only saying that not to be a nerdy science geek, but I have my students do that when they're developing products. Like, go see what people are talking about. Go read a book on Amazon and the comments that people say about the book.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
amazing data mining that
Yeah.
would really help us too to understand that data drives the decisions.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that though, the food. So keto, okay. Yeah.
yeah. Specialty and natural and organic pet supplies.
Okay. I have
have
5 animals, so I'm sure I'll be buying that stuff. Yeah.
There's an incredible stat where I think, and don't quote me on this, but retail grocery shoppers that also have a pet will end up spending an extra 20% in your store because of the convenience factor.
Okay.
And they had previously gone to a specialty pet store. Well,
Yeah.
that specialty
More stops. Yeah.
Yeah, that is overlapped. And now that they're spending enough in specialty, natural and organic in their own lives, they consider pets as part of their family, and that's a one-stop shop for their whole family.
Okay.
So it aligns to what we're seeing in a mass trend.
Yeah, totally. I'm totally the epitome of that. So tell me how you got here in your career. Like, I like to hear the origin story out of college. What were you studying? What were you thinking? And then how you ended up here as an executive.
Well, I feel like that's a long story.
We got time. We'll break it up into interesting segments. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Because my career is like a ball of knots. Yeah.
So I studied marketing and advertising at University of Illinois. I was always interested in it.
Okay.
My grandfather and my great uncle were both in advertising in the 60s.
Like Mad Men.
Like total Mad Men. And I, like at that time, and then until when I was actually influenced into, what direction I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I was thinking like rhinoplasty or advertising. And I went the advertising route.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mad Men thing, just the ability to influence a brand in such a meaningful way was super alluring. So I went to University of Illinois for that program and graduated there and went straight to the Chicago Sun-Times. They had done a recruiting session at school. And
it's iconic. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's so
it's
cool to say.
so
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
And being in media was very interesting to me. I never really wanted to be part of an agency, which was kind of the direct route at that point.
Yeah.
There were less people going directly into the brand.
So you were doing brand for the
For
Sun
the
Times.
Sun Times.
Okay.
So direct to consumer advertising, working internally, cross-functionally with our sales and our publishers and our editors. And I was this little pipsqueak out of college and got to have a really big voice. And it was really amazing to me, like what kind of power marketing could have in, changing the total look, the feeling, the way the brand really was personified.
Yeah.
And I just had a ton of fun there too.
So say more about that you're a pipsqueak, but you felt like you had a voice. Why do you think you had a voice? Because the position allowed it, or it was you, or a combination?
It was probably a combination
Yeah.
of multiple things. I think one, the VP of marketing, who I very much respected, she opened up a lot of doors
Okay.
and invited a lot of cross-functional collaboration.
Imagine that.
yeah.
And it actually works and has good results. Yeah.
And it did. And it was so It was so fascinating because rather than working just the two of us in a little
Yeah.
hamster wheel.
Which you could have and become like order takers.
Right.
Yeah.
No, instead we were able to serve up tons of creative ideas. Not everything was, palatable to everybody, but at the same time, we were able to get to understand what the needs were from our sales teams, from the circulation team. How do they sell more papers? How does our sales team go out and get more advertisers?
Yeah.
What are the needs of the readers? That was something that was very, at the forefront of our editorial board.
And was this the time where print was still in its heyday, or it was starting to decline?
It was starting to decline, certainly, but it wasn't like the dinosaur it is today.
Yeah.
That's about 20 years ago.
Okay.
So I still was able to be part of it at a time when it was super influential.
Yeah.
I was actually there during 2011.
Oh, wow.
And when 9/11 happened, the job I had for that day as a rookie at the Sun-Times was to take the front cover around to all the TV stations. Because if you remember, and they don't really do it as much today because it's not as applicable, but on every TV station, they held up the front cover of the Sun-Times and showed the World Trade Centers being flown through. And it was just, I remember the city was just completely scarce, like it was a ghost town.
Yeah.
And it was my job to get the paper out. And
I remember where I was. I was in pharmaceutical sales. I was out on my little route talking to doctors, and they sent us home.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to have that moment in our generation where everybody remembers exactly where they were
where I was,
and what you were feeling.
Yeah.
There's so many days that you have so many amazing and lows, and those come and go, but you remember that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Sun-Times was an incredible learning opportunity, being able to collaborate like that. I think that's something that you don't really learn in school, how to really, really apply. Yeah, you do team projects.
Right. Which everybody hates in classes, and I can
Right.
attest to that. And I have my students do it on purpose because I'm like, this is a real life. You may have to work with people you don't like. You got to figure it out.
I liken that to when you go to a conference and they're like, okay, now stand up and go talk to 3 people you haven't. That's when I shudder.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, I was just so comfy.
That's
in
what I'm
my
like, I got
seat.
this phone call. I'm going to step out.
Excuse me for a moment. Yeah, right. So I left the Sun-Times after about 3 years.
Wait, back to 9/11. So when
Sure.
something like that happens, is it like all hands on deck? You're not going home that day, or
No,
Okay.
our
I probably watched too much TV about newspaper shows.
they kept editorial and marketing rather separate, like church and state. So
Okay, that
I
makes sense.
assume the editorial folks were hard working and didn't leave. We, after distributing the covers, were relieved of our duties for the day.
Yeah.
And I assume the same of sales because, like you in pharmaceutical sales, they weren't going to
There's not
go and
much
meet
you
with
could-
anyone.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Okay, so I left there and went to White Hen, which was a convenience store
Yes.
chain of
Of my
about-
youth, yes.
As a Chicagoan,
Yeah.
everybody knows White Hen.
Are they still around?
No,
They're not.
No,
Okay.
I was there for about 2 years, and then we went back out for financial funding
Okay.
from a new VC, and instead our competitor 7-Eleven
Oh,
decided to purchase White Hen.
okay.
And so I stayed on with 7-Eleven, which was fantastic. White Hen was 325 stores.
And they were privately owned at that point?
Privately funded.
Okay.
And we just had stores in Illinois and just over the border into Indiana.
Okay.
And then joining 7-Eleven, 31,000 global stores.
It's like unfathomable. I can't,
It just
can't even.
exponentially changed overnight. And 4 different advertising agencies, a marketing team of 40 versus 2.
Yeah.
So,
You're like, this is the big leagues.
This
Yeah.
is the big leagues.
Yeah.
And being able to be a part of a marketing team that was essentially working on the exact same thing, just so much bigger,
Yeah.
really opens up your eyes to different possibilities. And you think, oh, if we just had more money, if we just had more stores, but
Yeah.
really that didn't solve things.
No, it just makes it worse. Yeah.
like-
and more convoluted. and-
Right.
yeah.
So the opportunity within small and refined versus huge and, bigger pockets is not always, the grass is not always greener.
Yeah, I
That was
agree.
really
More
nice.
bureaucracy, more layers. Yeah.
It was harder,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
And how did they treat you as an acquired entity? A lot of places don't get that right.
Yeah, there was a survivor kind of mentality that many of us had that were able to stay on, which probably put like our own little drop of doubt in the water.
Yeah.
And then, the water cooler talk, which just really eats away at what your total success could be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a damper.
Yeah. And it's tough. I mean, it's tough. I've lived through it at Motorola and it was tough.
Yeah, that's never easy. The thing that was so amazing or being able to understand what kind of pressure they're under to pull those organizations together, integrate, find the best talent, all the things that actually have been super helpful in my toolbox as I've come to KeHE, because we've been a company that's grown through acquisition.
Yeah. And now, did they keep White Hen as its own brand, or did they?
No, it was completely rebranded 7-Eleven, and some of the stores actually were removed from the portfolio.
Okay.
Some franchisees stayed on, some didn't. But it's cool to see the brands, especially the sub-brands that we created within White Hen that have remained.
What?
Like Hot and Fresh was a sandwich line that we had created. We created the logo and the neon signs that are in the stores, and now they still live on.
Yeah. That is kind of cool, actually. Yeah. Okay. And so then after White Hen?
So then after White Hen, I left and went out of food just for a split second over to Club Libby Lou.
Okay, yeah, we talked about this. Is a fascinating story, so I want to hear.
So it's like everything pink, sparkly, and fun, which if you know me is like right up my alley.
Yeah.
Geared, it was owned by Saks Fifth Avenue, geared towards the 4 to 12-year-old.
Okay.
And their primary business was a service doing updos and hairdos and nails for
I
little girls.
vaguely remember this, yeah.
Yeah, about 52 locations around the U.S.
Okay.
And at major malls. There was one in Woodfield.
Okay, maybe that's why. Yeah.
And there was also tons of proprietary merchandise that we worked on, including going to fashion markets and trade shows to find the latest and greatest, what would align to this target market.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is in my past, we're always looking at the 18 plus market. So somebody with their own disposable income. But here we're looking at this younger demo that quite often you're really influencing both her and her guardian, right?
But if you hook the kid, you've pretty much hooked the parent, right?
That's the hope, is that, there's a tug on the purse strings, like, hey, mom.
Yeah.
So we just have to make it so compelling to that little girl to be part of this like whimsical dreamland
experience. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything experience oriented. It was definitely a discretionary purchase for most of these parents, and it hit. I was there like right when the recession hit.
Oh.
So Saks, in order to remain whole, discontinued the brand and focused on Saks off Fifth and Saks.com. And so at that point, I reconnected with Brandon Barnholt and a few of the other executives that have previously with White Hen, who had come over to KeHE 3 to 4 years earlier. So it was a amazing homecoming, coming back to the leadership that I had known so well and coming to KeHE. And that was 10 years ago now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And so how did you enter KeHE? Doing marketing?
I've always been in marketing. So I came in as the director of marketing.
Okay.
And I really was overseeing our publication business, started to pick up on our budgets.
Okay.
And working side by side with category management as well as our sales team. About 2.5 years between each of my roles, from director, senior director, executive director, and now I'm the vice president of marketing.
Okay. In 2.5 years, that's like when I start to get antsy. It's actually going less now, but yeah. So I understand that. And so KeHE's an interesting company. It's family owned, yes?
We're actually employee owned.
Employee owned, okay.
And it was started as a family business about 65 plus years ago. And Jerry Kay, the son of the founder, is still on our board of directors. And it feels like it's family owned because employees feel so much ownership in decisions that we're making, day-to-day, small, tiny decisions to big, sweeping ones. Because we all have a piece of the business, we act like this is one big family.
Yeah, I like that. And that's not seen that much. When I was out in the lobby, I was looking around, of course, reading all the literature. But on the wall, it has your founding value. And it's we thank and honor God in all that we do. So what's that like having a faith-based component to the brand and purpose?
Yeah, it used to be referred to as faith-based, but we really look at it now as faith-friendly.
Okay.
So whoever
like
you
that. Yeah, yeah.
are, in your religious life or non-religious life or whatever motivates you, you can bring that to work. It doesn't have to really just hide away.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very empowering. It's kind of like the elephant in the room to some people who are like,
Sure.
ooh, that's like tiptoe around that.
Yeah.
Instead, I find it really welcoming and rewarding to people to not have to hide who they are and be more confident that who they are is the reason they're here.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I was like questioning whether I should even ask that question for some reason.
Yeah,
Just because
some
of my
people
own
are like,
experience. But I'm like,
"Ooh."
you know what? It's on the wall. It's an important thing and clearly part of the culture. So,
Yeah, it's definitely part of the DNA here.
yeah. Okay. So your journey, it's, been an interesting one. Any things that you feel like you really overcame in the process or learned along the way that you've taken with you?
I've probably learned more and forgotten more than I, could even
Yeah.
start to tell you. I've learned about really great leadership.
Yeah.
I've learned about really bad leadership. And what I want to do is emulate all the good,
Sure.
and be able to provide that to my team. I think that's one of my biggest roles is to make sure that they learn what a good leader looks like, sounds like, acts like. And I am so far from knowing that answer in its, entirety. I'm always learning and I'm looking at other leaders to help me with that. I go to conferences to understand that.
Sure.
I'm reading. Um,
You have a sign here on your computer. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. John F. Kennedy. Yeah.
and I really believe that they
Yeah.
have to be interlocked. And so I'm not done learning everything there is to know about marketing, and I'm not done learning everything there is about leadership. And
Yeah.
those two,
They're both evolving. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So say a little bit more though about your approach to leadership.
So I believe that you really need to have extreme accountability built into your team.
Okay.
And so that's not about whether or not to micromanage. That's not the statement. The statement is you have to give your team enough room to be able to execute at 60%. Find out where the, holes are and then have the next time be 80% and really strive for ownership and acceleration, improvement, and destroy this perfectionism kind of mentality
Yeah,
that, persists within most of us, especially the type A's,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm a Virgo, so yeah, totally guilty.
yeah, saying this for a friend, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I say excellence, not perfection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how can I help persuade that excellence instead of perfectionism? And it's a little bit of, a stepping stone towards having this ownership and accountability for their own project and not doing it all myself.
Totally. Yeah. So delegation, that's a problem with
Yeah,
some leaders for sure.
Delegation is big, but then also, not micromanaging because I would like it done a certain way. So maybe I have them mirror me for the
Yeah.
first project and then slowly, it's a look back and see a reflection of all they've done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I agree.
It's really rewarding.
You can't, because I used to be that way too, a little bit of a control freak, to ask my husband, but you can't expect them to do it the same way. And if they're achieving similar and or better results, who cares
Right.
how it was done? Who cares?
I end up learning so much more from
Totally.
them.
Yeah.
I wonder what I'm teaching them.
Yeah. Well, and when I do an org chart or talk about, I always say that I'm at the bottom and I'm there to just serve them up and help them get to where they want in their careers and block and tackle for them. So yeah, I'm always in that position like, what really do I know at this point? Because you, as a leader in management, you are going away from your subject matter expertise and most of your time is building and developing people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I really knew that back in the day.
No, I totally didn't know that.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's why, and I went through Women Unlimited, which we'll talk about in a little bit. This is where I learned this, is I went from individual contributor to manager, and you kind of have to let that go a little bit, your subject matter expertise, which is difficult.
It's true. And that's where my passion is. So that's where I have the most fun. But I think once I had kids, I look back and I said, what will my legacy be?
Yeah.
And it wasn't about like creating the best logo. It was like, what can I build into other people that
Yeah.
they will get to carry forever? And if I can help them in their career or on their path or, just a pit stop on their journey, then, I feel like that will be success.
Okay. So you have a lot of inspiration in your office. So any favorite books on leadership or people that you follow? I know you saw Simon Sinek. I was
I love Simon Sinek.
so it's funny because I'm trying to use the right language for myself. I almost wrote, I'm so jealous. And I'm like, no, I'm not jealous. I'm actually really happy for her. So I wrote, I'm happy for you. Because language is important, right? Words matter. So I was like, I'm not jealous. I'm so happy that she got to see him. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so anxiously awaiting getting to hear his wisdom.
Yeah.
And he's
Was it amazing, you would think?
he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, he talked about infinite versus finite.
Yeah.
And
I'm listening to that book right now.
that is really, really impactful. We've been reading the book Story Branding,
Okay.
and
I have not seen that one,
that it's less about leadership, more about marketing.
but I like that. Yeah.
It's great. And Melinda Gates has a new book out that is just like, can't wait to get to it. It's
Okay.
more about women in leadership.
Okay. Okay. Did you read Lean In and get into that at all?
Yes, I
Yeah.
love my Brene Brown books.
Oh my gosh, yes,
too.
I do love her. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Did you watch her Netflix special?
I did.
Yeah, she's really good. Yeah. And she uses humor really well, which I like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not all self-deprecating. It just kind
No.
of like pokes fun that we're just all really people trying to do something, great.
Yeah.
And it's okay that it's not 100%.
Yeah. And so before I hit record, we were actually talking a little bit about authenticity and being yourself. And because you made a comment, if you don't mind me sharing, where you're like, I'm not even sure I should be on this podcast where we're talking about women doing amazing things. And I said, absolutely. But I think that's sort of part of your authenticity is like the humility that goes along with it. So
I think that's part of leadership too, though. Like just because you have a title doesn't mean that you're
Totally.
great or that you get to say whatever you want or have influence. It's not just granted. You have to
Yeah.
really earn that.
And that takes time, which I have trouble with because I want it immediately. But yeah, it takes time to earn trust. And yeah. And a lot of times when I take on a new team, they don't understand that I'm there for them. They're like, wait, why is she asking me these questions about where I want to go in my career? I'm suspicious. But that's how you should be as a leader.
And it's okay that some people want to stay in place,
Yeah.
and not everybody has the same career path or career ambition that I do. And that's something that I've had to kind of come to terms with that I didn't really fully understand before.
Yeah.
I think you and I actually
We did, yes.
found this out together, and it's been very recent in the past year where we found people that were just really content honing their skill and getting really good at what they're doing right now and don't want forward progression.
And you and I were like, wait, what? Hold on.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, I was like, first of all, I wish I could have that, but no. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But that's why getting to know people on a personal level, I know that's sort of frowned upon, is important because
It
you need
is.
to know what motivates them, what drives them, what they care about.
and having a different sense of empathy for,
That's a
exactly
great
where
word,
they're coming
empathy.
from.
Yeah.
So I think relationships really matter.
Yeah.
You brought up the word relationship. It's not just understanding the personal side, but it's understanding, what motivates them, what makes them tick. And, if I look back at what tools I've used to succeed, a lot of it is really getting really good at marketing. And that goes without saying. You have to be really good at your job.
Sure. Yeah.
But the other part, which is even more impactful, is the relationship aspect and getting to know people, understanding what they're doing. Empathy, yes, but also like what makes a different department tick? What can you
Right.
do to help solve their problems? And then vice versa. You didn't even know that they were already doing something that could make your job that much easier.
Yeah.
And just having those conversations and opening up the doors, breaking down silos. Some of that sounds, kind of like, okay, passe or whatever.
No, finance has totally different business goals than marketing. And usually you're
like
spending.
opposite,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Right. And you become a cost center sometimes for marketing. And so you got to make sure you're aligned and understanding what's driving that business unit.
Yeah. And what's super interesting here is we're not just a cost center. We make the organization a nice chunk of change. So, and we're looking to find other revenue streams that help explore, new ways for us to be making money at KeHE, especially as food margins continue to diminish.
Yeah.
It's important that we're looking at, what's the holistic outlook for KeHE. How can we find new pockets of revenue?
Yeah. And so, as a marketing organization, without giving away all the secrets of KeHE, can you say a little bit more on how you're not just a cost center as a marketing function?
Yeah, so like one big bucket would be our trade shows.
Okay.
And we have about 5,000 people that come to each of our 2 large shows, and
So you do twice a year.
twice a
Oh my
year.
gosh, that's like
And then-
planning a wedding. Well, actually, like 10 weddings.
Yeah, exactly. And we have about 800 suppliers that come and 1,000 retailers that come, and putting together a marketplace for 2 days allows us to generate dollars there as well as
Nice.
sales dollars. So we're both creating
Yeah.
other income as well as sales revenue.
Okay. And so the age-old sales and marketing always sometimes clash. How do you work with the sales team here?
Actually, there's not that clash.
That's good,
There's
yeah.
a lot of shared desire, a lot of shared interest, really common goals, a lot of alignment. Is everything perfect all the time? No, but I think we have a really great strategic plan that outlines
That helps
exactly.
with the shared goals, like you said.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so then as a marketing organization, we level up to the larger strategic plan so that we're aligned to it. So when my team is executing, they know that ultimately they're achieving the strategic plan by achieving the marketing
Yeah,
plan.
which is important because then they know what their purpose is and how they fit into the larger picture.
Right. And I think every employee wants to make an impact.
Totally.
So
yeah.
that accountability piece and the,
Tie into the larger strategy.
yeah, it creates a sense of engagement that otherwise might be missing.
Yeah, people want a purpose. They want to know that their work is meaningful. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about bad leadership. Do you have any horror stories along the way or things that you've definitely learned from and will not do?
Yeah, I would say one of the key learnings is about a leader that was a major diminisher. I felt like my arms were behind my back, and my job was to hide behind a curtain and just execute, just get the
Gosh,
job
yeah.
done. And I actually was really good at that. So, I didn't really realize how bad it was at the time until I was relieved of that.
And
And
you're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be.
oh, okay. So I could be creative and we could
Yeah.
improve and we could have cross functional collaboration and we can talk to people and understand a
Yeah.
different level. That was eye opening and that was a real game changer for me.
Was that early on in your career?
It was not early enough.
Okay. And so diminisher in that, were they then taking credit for the work that you're doing behind?
No,
the
not
curtain?
necessarily taking credit, but certainly not pushing me forward.
Okay.
And I feel like it's constantly the leader's job to hand the bouquet to the people that did the right work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make sure that they shine and make sure they get credit and make sure that leadership and executives see who's behind that curtain.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
I'm always so proud to like parade my team and around
absolutely.
and
They put
talk
in
about
all
that.
that work.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a motivating factor.
Yeah.
You give someone a gift card because they do a good job, or
Total.
you
A
put
piece
them
of paper. Yeah.
put them in front of the CEO and say, "This is the one that did it."
Yeah.
That works so much better in terms of keeping people motivated. And really, it's that engagement again,
Yeah.
accountability, engagement, all those things rise to the top when you're able to say, someone else did it. Yeah. So a diminisher, what,
That's a good example though. Yeah. And it's interesting that you didn't know it until after.
I just felt like it was part of that company's culture. And so I just kind of stayed in the place I was given.
Yeah.
And now knowing what the other side of the coin is, I mean,
You could never go back
I can
now.
never
Yeah.
go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's good.
watch out.
Yeah. So you and I met through Women Unlimited, which is a professional development program for female mid-level to executive level females in Fortune 500 companies for the most part, or large companies. So why is that important for you to give back to groups like that? Because we're spending time mentoring, a team of folks.
Um, I really found. Is it okay if I repeat an answer here?
Oh
so that you
yeah. Oh
can
my gosh.
edit
Yeah.
it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really found once I had my kids, I did a reflective kind of moment, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And felt there was this need to create a legacy that I was really proud of. And it wasn't just about a marketing moment. It was
Yeah.
about how to give back. And giving back had multiple prongs. And one was about mentoring and being able to provide a resource to especially women, but not women alone,
Sure.
that wanted more growth and wanted to have another outlet and wanted to talk to someone else. I referenced a diminisher, and I felt like, what if I had had a mentor that was outside the organization that I
Yeah.
could have like bounced an idea off of?
It was like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe I would have raised my hand a lot sooner and said, like, hey, this is not really working, or
Yeah.
there's something
There's better out there.
right.
Yeah.
So could I help someone else's career journey because I'm part of it? Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope
Right.
so, and that's why I want to give my time to do stuff like that.
Yeah. And you're also involved in some philanthropic organizations.
I feel
You
like
ta-
we are so fortunate to live the lives that we're served, and so it's upon us to make this world a better place. And how you do that is up to you, and
Yeah.
the amount of time, the amount of money, whatever it is, even the thought leadership you can provide. So it's important to me to give back. I am a co-founder of a women's charity with my sister-in-law. She underwent a hysterectomy, double mastectomy,
Oh my goodness.
as a result of being a BRCA1 carrier. And
Okay.
so we just realized how important it was to receive this BRCA testing. And several years ago, that could have cost over 5 grand. And there's plenty of people that really can't afford the mammograms and testing that go
Yeah.
along with that. So,
So she proactively got tested for it
yeah,
and then,
she had had breast cancer in her family history,
okay.
so it was time. And when she was a carrier, it was a really dark time for the family.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And just imagine those radical surgeries. She had a 4-year-old at home who like had no idea what was going on, but just mom was sick.
Oh,
And luckily, she's totally on the other side of the rainbow now, and she's
yeah.
able to
That's good.
share, her story and how to come through with other women. And so our charity helps provide funding for the underinsured and underserved
Okay.
in the local area through North Shore University Health Centers to women to get mammography and other BRCA1 testing.
What's the name of the organization?
It's MRW Leadership Board. So it's the Myra Rubenstein Weiss
Okay.
Leadership Board.
And that's your sister-in-law.
That's my
Okay.
sister-in-law and I,
And
and a
so,
few others.
say a little bit more about that. So some people, no insurance,
No
no means.
insurance, no
Yeah.
means, and the last thing they would do is go sign up for a mammography,
Yeah.
session that would cost hundreds. Maybe I don't even know what it's like without insurance,
Right.
thousands, and to not even know what it's like. I mean, that's so
That's,
privileged,
yeah.
right?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And those kind of tests can ultimately save their lives. If you think about it too, we're helping our own system by pulling people that might have, a cancerous organ and by helping people that can remove cancer from their trajectory
Yeah.
by having preventative surgeries, we're helping our whole health insurance issue that
Sure.
we have in this country, rather than letting it get to a cancerous position where they're then going through radiation and chemo.
Yeah. And the
I mean,
mortality rate
oh
is,
my
yeah.
gosh, that's awful. So, can we make a small little dent in that through education and funding? Yeah,
Yeah.
we can.
And is that a big part of it, the education part of it? Because like you said, I think it's not even on some people's radar.
Right. We did focus a lot on education initially. We're finding that funding is much
Yeah.
more necessary right now.
Okay. Okay. But you said she's doing well now.
She's
Oh,
good.
okay. Good.
Yeah, she's through to the other side. She's clear. She gets tests every now and then, but
And
uh,
people can donate to the organization.
they can.
So, and I feel like this only gets asked of women, but how do you balance it all with, you have 2 small kids, a husband who's got a big job, he's got
Mhm.
his own law firm,
hmm
and you've got a big job. How does it all work at the end of the day?
Yeah. I think you could probably ask him the same question, so it's
Totally,
not
yeah.
totally female centric.
And I say my husband loves to do laundry and the dishes and stuff, so he definitely takes on more of that role.
It's a partnership, and
Yeah.
so he's amazing. He's home when I'm traveling early, and he leaves super early, and we have other outside help as well.
That's nice. Yeah.
We actually moved from the city back to where I'm from, so both of our parents are close to us as well.
Yeah.
It takes a village,
It
that's
really
for sure.
does. Yes.
Um, But beyond that, I think the work-life balance, like, once I get that figured out, I'll call you back.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out.
I just do the best I can. And certainly there's times where I'm more focused on work than I am at home. And when I need to right side it, I just try and spend quality time with my husband and my kids um, as much as I can.
Yeah.
And, at night, try and put that phone away,
I
try
was
and
just
put
going to
work
ask you,
away.
yeah, do you put the phone down when you go home?
I try. If I start to take a picture of them and then I get lost in my emails, yeah, I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
But I really try and give the time between, dinner and them going to bed the most attention I possibly can. And then when we go on any kind of like family trips, it's all about them and
Yeah.
being really
And I think that helps too.
committed.
Yeah.
And they know then. I mean, they're used to this life too. They don't know a different one where,
Yeah.
they have a stay-at-home mom. So I'm kind of fortunate with that, having them see me in this role. Hopefully this is something that will translate to them and they can see themselves
Be
as
inspired by it. Yeah. Yeah.
hardworking and dedicated to their profession and little bosses themselves.
I love that, little bosses. All right. So this is kind of a different turn in the podcast, but so this is where I read some boneheaded things that men have said in business and kind of get your reaction. So this is, I won't even say the company, but there was a woman that was standing next to a group of male executives at the company, and they were complaining because of hiring young women because they're just going to get themselves pregnant again and again.
So, first, I just want to say, men are part of this, right?
Yes.
They're part of women in leadership. They're part of women at work.
Totally. I've had great male sponsors. And this
Right.
is not, by the way, this segment is not meant to call out, well, it is meant to call them out, but not meant to be disparaging to men, but
Mhm.
to call out what's happening, talk about it in sort of like a humorous way. I mean, this was actually said.
Yeah.
And so let's call it out. Let's have a conversation about it. And
Exactly.
it doesn't mean that we don't like men or men are not part of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, they're just as culpable. I don't think the women are getting pregnant by themselves.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, they have some shared accountability there.
Yeah.
But diversity in thought, diversity in age, diversity in background, diversity in gender all lead to a stronger workforce. They provide more creativity. Companies that have that diversity show stronger sales. And
Yeah, this is science. I mean,
Right.
there's studies behind this. Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
And so if I were to see that, I would wonder, would you say that to your daughter?
Right.
Would you say that to your son? Like, oh, they only will want her because she's, post having her kids.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's how we support one another. We help people through the maternity leave. And then you find out that person is even better than when they started because they have a new perspective. They're
Yeah.
coming with, a desire for a legacy. They're coming with a desire to serve.
Much like exactly like you said. Yeah. Yeah. It sort of gave you more drive and oomph. Yeah.
You know that saying, you want someone to do something, give it to someone that's really busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll get it done.
Yeah. Give it to mom.
Right. It's like she's organizing her life. She's making sure that there's support with the village that surrounds her to take care of her kids while she's working. All the things that she and he together, or whatever the couple looks like,
Yeah.
to support their family. That's the person that I want to come in and take all the details that I have in a marketing
Absolutely, yeah.
organization and put them together in a nice, streamlined, easygoing process.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And my experience is that, of course, women need to leave when they have children, but they usually come back and they pick up where they left off. And to your point, they're even more motivated and have even more of a desire to give back in a different way and, get out of the house and brush their teeth and that sort of stuff. So I've seen the same thing that you're saying where
And
they come
talk
back.
about accountability. I
Yeah.
mean, that goes through the roof. All of a sudden, you're providing for a family. You're not providing for one person where you can kind of just pick up and go.
Yeah.
I see people actually investing more in their career and deciding to go deeper as opposed to being a surface.
Yeah.
I'm actually really proud. Was not planned, but we have a fully female marketing organization. There's 12 women on my team.
Oh my gosh.
And it's growing. Their families are growing. I'm delighted for them to have work-life balance and to be able to test what that looks like for themselves. And hopefully I'm showing a good example,
Yeah, yeah,
you
I love
know,
that.
and we're all going through that part together.
Yeah. And how loyal do you think they are once you take care of them through that time and, do them right when they do have to take time off for their family? I mean, I think the employees come back even more loyal and more dedicated to the organization.
That's my goal. That's my hope
Yeah.
is I can be super dedicated and connected to my family, and I can go to a 2-year-old, dance recital and
Yeah.
come right back and work at night or do what I need to do to get it done. And then they can too.
So you have an all-female marketing team. I love that. Okay, cool. Okay, one more boneheaded thing. So this is from a startup that actually became huge public company. And so one of the things the co-founder says was that they did not want to have a female considered a co-founder because having that title was taking away from the other co-founders and making the company seem like a joke because they had a young female as a co-founder, even though they were an actual co-founder.
Hmm. How would you handle that?
A throat punch comes to mind. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's why I want to call out statements like this because this is, in the last few months, this is not said 30 years ago.
Right.
And so people are still thinking that way. There's still that bias.
It's, I guess, unfortunate because I see such strong women in business.
Yeah.
And they are such contenders against the guys that to me, that whole gender thing, sometimes we spend so much time on it. And
Yeah.
it's like,
It's not even in your orbit because you're not really necessarily experiencing it.
it's like,
Yeah.
guys, like we're moving this company from from zero to hero.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that, not whether or not she gets her name on this.
Yeah.
And, she might be able to leverage different funding than all of, he can because there's someone at the bank that is a she. So you just don't know.
Yeah. Good. Well, thanks for playing. Hopefully it wasn't too awkward. But I mean, like I said, these are things that are actually said. I have some that are from Fortune 500 companies, and I think it's important to talk about. And a lot of them came back to actually apologize after they said these boneheaded things because they realize it after the fact. But I think it's important to talk about it. But to your point, I have had good male sponsorship along the way. And quite frankly, I couldn't have gotten to where I got without that. So I do think they are part of the conversation.
Yeah, I do too. I think that we rely on our partners at home and then in the workplace.
Yeah.
No matter what they look like and what gender they are. So, developing that relationship home and at work, it's important.
Yeah, and I read some of these to my husband, and he was flabbergasted. Or my brothers, they just don't think that way.
Right.
But there certainly are people thinking that way.
And Women Empowered is a movement we've had here.
I meant to ask, I saw that on the TV out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's about 5 years old, and 3 women are selected every year to have different awards given to them, but it's a focus. We huddle as women at lunch and learns how to develop different things that maybe guys already have innately or things that guys huddle on themselves and don't even realize they're, grouping up and having conversations about. So having a focus around women making connections and relationships, that's a big deal. And then we also honor them with awards at the end of the year.
I like that. Yeah, that's great. Because I think women tend to be the worker bees, almost like your job where you work for the diminisher, where you're like, I'm going to just do a good job and hope that I get noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important for them to have networking opportunities and visibility and things like that. So
it is. It's great for them to be able to connect with one another across the company.
Cool. I like that. All right. So what's next for Ari in 2020?
Oh, that's such a big question.
I know.
So I'm still within my first 100 days in my vice president seat. So there's a lot to unravel there and what, the next 3 years look like for the marketing organization. I need to lay that out. And then, how to develop my team, what that looks like, and really develop more paths to success for them, having those individual conversations. I'm really here for them.
Sure.
And then figuring out what's next in, my home life too. My kids are growing up. They're almost out of, elementary school,
Yeah.
and that to me like just blows my mind because I was pregnant here at KeHE.
Oh, yeah.
So knowing that they're like, starting to get in the double digits is crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, thank you for all of your time, especially since, like you said, you're in the first 100 days of your tenure as VP. So we appreciate you taking the time and
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
sharing
much
so
for
much of your
having me.
story. Appreciate it.
Thanks.